And now it is my pleasure to invite our next speaker. She's Kirsi Terho. Welcome, Kirsi.
Thank you.
Kirsi is the Key Account Director at Infinity Fibre. Before you get started, I'd love to know, how does the circular fashion development look like to you at the moment?
That's a very big question. It is actually, if we think about the problems we are solving in there, that is huge. But at the same time, there is good news. There is a lot of efforts in that area. For example, even today, Primark, they just came out with their sustainability strategies for the next years. So there is a lot of efforts.
Brilliant. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Kirsi Terho. I'm the Key Account Director at the Infinity Fibre company. Today, we are talking about circularity, and that topic is in the heart of our business also. Infinity Fibre is a fashion and textile technology group on a mission to bring hope and joy into the fashion, helping the textile industry to lose its reliance on the virgin materials instead of making circularity an everyday reality. Let's start by looking at the context. A few years ago, trend forecaster Lee Edelkourt, who is famously known about this kind of forecast, told that there will be a death of fashion. Her interest was replaced by her interest on fashion was replaced by the interest on clothes, actually. So what she really started to think is that purchasing the clothes as a consumer shouldn't be as an act of consumer, it should be an act of curator, more or less. Just to make a careful selection of the garments you feel comfortable with, which has a meaning, which has feelings, which has emotions. This shift is driven by the desire to look after the planet and its people, and to find hope for the future. So, what are the planetary concerns we all have? Okay, everybody knows this. Climate change. The IPCC report just came out and reminded us that this is something that we need to rapidly do something with. Then there is landfills. There is so many clothes piling up, for example, in the landfills, and those are simply wasted. Others are toxic, extremely hazardous. Then there is the diagnosis. Eutrophication causes agricultural runoff. Microplastic pollution. I can go on and on. These are all the issues that are directly impacted by the way the textile fibers are produced, used, and applied. I think that we are all agreeing this is not the world we want to live in. We want to be able to breathe easy. We want to be snorkeling around. We want to be in a corals with our snorkels and see those instead of seeing the plastic bags. There's a real concern that increasing number of people on this planet have that how we define the products and services we want to buy and use, that people are really thinking about that these days. We need to design our waste. We need to feel comfortable in our own skins. This means wearing clothes and using textiles that don't cost the earth. This means that circularity should be a major defining factor of the value of the clothes. Going forward, what we hope to see is kind of like a unified rating system. So when you go to the store, you know what you buy. You know that the label says that this is something that, okay, I can feel okay by buying this. That is one way to do it. This is a kind of like an overall scale of sustainability. It could be also that what you see in there is that you don't have the labels. It should be that everything that is there is already sustainable. But until we are there could be some kind of like a system like you have with the refrigerators, where you have the A+ certification and you know that this is a good choice. That would be good for clothing. And before we have the standardized labeling, circularity is in everybody's strategies. The major global brands have pledged to do better. They recognize that the circularity is the key designing related waste and reducing industry's massive burden to the virgin resources. What we are hearing from the brands is that the future they see is the one where their customers will expect all garments to be responsibly and sustainably produced and sourced. People should have to spend a lot of time looking for the circular material options in a limited niche designs. Sustainably produced circular material options need to become a mainstream. This is how we can bring joy and hope back to people's closets. Here's actually some of the sayings that our partners have been saying about the, really what needs to happen. So, what Infinity Fibre and me, what we have to do with all this? As I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, is that Infinity Fibre Company is a fashion and textile technology group. And we are specialized in next generation recycling. We are on a mission to take the textile circularity to an everyday reality. Our technology that uses the textile waste as its feedstock to produce Infina, which is a unique new textile fiber that looks and feels like cotton. We help to turn the old raggedy clothes into the beautiful new ones. That is really a very bold statement, but that is actually what we do. We are headquartered here in Finland. We are currently having R&D facilities in a pilot scale in Espoo and in Valkeakoski. And at the moment, we are already looking at the next scale. Here is my dear friends, Jonathan Shanks, who's kind of like a design Jedi from and former Levi's SVP for design. He's saying that our technology is kind of like a magical Willy Wonka machine. You just throw something in and you get the fiber out. It is not exactly how it works, but it's a good kind of like a idea what we do. And that is actually our technology that really turns different feedstocks into the unique fiber. So let's go to a little bit more detail into our technology. So here is our process. And this will give you a little bit better idea what we are doing. So first of all, what comes in is cellulose-rich material. We are concentrating mainly on the textile waste at the moment, but it could be cardboard, it can be agricultural waste, it can be paper. There is so many different things that has cellulose in it because it's a kind of like a building block of all the plants of the world. What we do second is that we go to the pre-processing of the materials. Pre-processing means that we are extracting the cellulose from the impurities. There could be, for example, in every single garment, the seams are sewn with polyester threads these days, and the labeling is polyester. So we need to get rid of those materials in our system. So the cleaning process is something that where we capture the cellulose. Then we go to the second phase, second model, which is called carbonation. It sounds terrible. It's not. What it actually is that we are activating the cellulose with urea. And that is the biggest difference between us and the other fibers. So urea is the activator in here. It's not kind of like those traditional methods in the viscose industry. Then when we go to the next step, that is the dissolving and wet spinning. That is actually quite close to the viscose system. So what we do, we dissolve that brown powder that you see in image 3 into liquid, and that liquid is then still filtered. So if there are still impurities, for example, from the polyester or the elastane, we get rid of that. And then we have the pure, clear cellulose liquid that we can then extrude to the acid bath through very thin nozzles. And at the moment we do that, it starts to crystallize the cellulose out, creating the Infina fibers. Now the fiber is born. We cut it, we wash it, we put that in bales, we send that to the yarn manufacturers of the world. And they can produce the yarns, the fabrics, and then the garments, and those can be 100% recycled materials. And then in end life, let's bring it back and close the loop. So here is Infina. What is great about that is that it is a totally new type of fiber that can be 100% from the existing textiles. So what we have been able to do is to recycle that fully. So our kind of like a biggest surplus in our process is that we can do that in such a high volumes, in such a high content that makes a big difference. Infina actually is a fiber that looks very natural. It's soft, it's lovely on skin. There is, I'll show you some applications next, but I want to mention that there is really a true circular alternative to cotton. And of course, what it is, it's made of cellulose, so it's biodegradable, it doesn't release any microplastics, and of course, saving the water part is very important. And because cotton is a very thirsty crop, and Infina production requires only a fraction of the water needed to cultivate cotton, we are saving water in a huge amount by using the old textiles. Here is the Infina in action. So, at the end of the day, what really matters is the brands who wants to use textiles in the final products and really look and feel the top quality that we can achieve. So people, whether designers or consumers, don't need to feel like they need to settle on something. They doesn't have to make compromises in quality in those clothes that they used to have. And they can have the jeans that they have been having for years and years, and still that can come from the good place. Here is actually a few examples. First image is from the H&M Group's weekday brand collaboration with actor Maisie Williams. She's wearing a denim outfit that is created 100% out of textile waste. It's 100% Infina. Then in the second picture, there is Ruben Selby's debut Paris Fashion Week collection. There's the cargo pants, and then there is the dress shirt. Then in third one, that is a Nomeneskio cape. Nomeneskio is a Finnish brand, and they were able to use it a bit differently. Then there is the last picture, where is Infina shirt, and then there is, I think that the material in the top is actually the same that I'm wearing today, so it's 100% Infina. And then there is 50-50 blend in the bottom. And then in the middle, I don't want to forget this, there is a non-wovens vibe. So there is lots and lots of possibilities in that area also. So if it's baby pot vibes or diapers or hygiene products, you name it, there is a lot of opportunities in that area too. Here's actually a word from Patagonia, a brand known for the pioneering efforts for sustainability. Reinforcement for the importance of the experience of the clothes, that beautiful clothes don't have to cost the earth. The circular doesn't have to mean compromise. And when this happens, making sustainable choices as a consumer becomes easy. That is actually the key of this message. Also, I want to talk about a little bit about brand partnerships that we have been making. There is a lot of different brands that have been very excited to work with our materials. We have been making some of the first collections into the markets. There was a weekday cheese released in January. Then there is more to come this year, and next year is going to be a kind of like a wave of different things coming to the markets. And so you will be seeing in Finland a lot. But at the same time, we are still in very limited capacity in our pilot facilities. So what we need to do, we need to go to scale. And that is the most important part of it. So having the great technology, that's not enough. A great fiber is even amazing. Brand partners are excited. There's a lot of good things. What's needed is the scale. Circular material will only make a difference when they became mainstream. They became easily accessible. To become mainstream, they need to be scaled. So what we mean is that we need to think about how to do this with the big brands, for example. So it is not enough to have 100 kgs of fiber coming out from the small pilot factory. You need to have tons and tons and tons of material coming in and fabrics being manufactured to make an impact. But we are in a happy position. We are having so much demand for the Infina that our pilot factories are stressed to meet it at the moment. But we are negotiating about the technology licensing to boost our production and availability in the future. And also, we are currently preparing to build up our own. That will be a kind of like a flagship demonstration plant here in Finland. We are really delighted that we are in a position when we already have announced the multi-year purchasing agreements from that flagship plant with the several brands, including Patagonia, H&M, Bestseller. They have all been committing to set quantities of Infina to really replace some of their existing material portfolios. These major commitments reinforce the view that the materials that come from the great place, that are produced sustainably, these are the materials of the future. Circularity is the new black. It is a new black of the textile industry. It is losing its virginity by not using virgin materials anymore. And we are here to make the circular choices easy ones for both brands and the consumers. Just keep your eyes out and look at the incoming new applications and new collections in the markets. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kirsi.
Thank you.
I just think Infinity Fibre is such a fantastic company.
Thank you so much.
And I really like the idea of Willy Wonka machine. I think it's something that kind of stays in the mind. Your technology, when I was listening to you, I was thinking that it has the power to transform the entire industry. And I don't think it's too much to say that it can do that. It's still early stages, but I know that you've come a long way already. Let's talk about future in the second. But before going into that, you're kind of guessing all the raw materials that you actually need is very different from kind of a traditional company where you kind of take virgin materials. But how did you manage to organize it, and how does it happen when you start scaling up the business? Kind of reverse logistics.
Yeah, to be quite honest, at the moment it's quite easy. Everybody's pushing their materials to us.
Really?
But in the future, I think that we need such a huge amount of that feedstock to come in, so that there needs to be a certain kind of like a very structured ways of bringing that in, and there needs to be kind of like a hubs of textiles and really like a collection centers where they make the pre-sorting of the materials, because we are only taking the cellulosic part. There is also the parts of polyester, for example, so that needs to be sorted early on in the stream. And of course, before even it comes to the, let's say, end-of-life applications like ours, there is a possibility to take out those pre-loved garments and put those to the markets in a, let's say, totally different way to pre-sell it.
So quite a lot of different types of partners.
Yeah.
And sort of ways generating kind of revenue is needed.
Yeah, I think that it needs to have a kind of like we need to look at the bigger scope of things.
Yes.
It's not just a one stream. For example, if our partner Adidas is trying to find out how to collect the garments from the stores, and then they are bringing that to the next round, what they need to look is what kind of different applications we need to make the whole stream to come in use, not just a small bit, which is Infinity Fibre, for example, but the whole bit.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Where do you see Infinity Fibre will be in 10 years' time? Are we all wearing Infina?
I hope so. I hope so, because that is actually that is our goal, to be in those mainstream markets, and really just getting a big portions about, for example, our tees, our hoodies, our jeans. So I see that we need to have multiple different factories running about in different areas of the world. It's not going to be just a tiny factory in Finland. There needs to be factories in Asia, in the US, in different places to really even answer to the demand. So
Absolutely.
there's a lot to do, but we are on a track.
Fantastic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.